RFK Jr. smacks a Democrat down right in front of everyone, says, everything you just said characterized is essentially dishonest. I love him. I don't have to agree with him. I do kind of agree with him. I haven't heard anything he disagrees with here. And he's right. Democrats basically are a lie. But this scene, let me bring this one up because you got to see this. Just set this frame. Okay, he's got like the black security guard. They look like twins on each side of him, these bald guys. There's a guy in purple sweats in the background. He's got to be representing San Francisco somewhere. And then he's got some kind of a big medical water keg here. He's got whatever this is. It says, "You rock." It looks like from 7-Eleven, some kind of a coffee drink. And then I like his posture here. Look at him kicking back as he destroys this Democrat. Welcome to Doug in Exile.
Okay, well, I'm asking if anybody here, because you're here. You're asking us for money. We appropriated the funds. Did you talk to any of us, Democrat, Republican? You know what? There are actually some very bright Republicans, I will say that, on both sides of the aisle. So the answer to that question.
Yeah, we're shocked too that there's some bright Republicans there. Thanks for the qualifier, lady. The question is, are there any Democrats with a conscience, with a soul rolling around in their body? Any of those there?
No. So your decisions, were they based on merit or generated by an algorithm?
What? Democrats. How do you generate? Were your decisions generated by an algorithm? Okay. Very smart, lady. She's trying to pretend like she knows how AI works, even how Doge works, the decisions, because RFK Jr. cut some jobs from this Health and Human Services. So she's going to go in and accuse him of like cutting really necessary jobs. And we know what kind of jobs they cut. The lazy people sitting around the water cooler, doing nothing, being redundant, stealing from the government, therefore stealing from yours and my taxpayers. But she's going like, you know, she's going like, hey, RFK Jr., are you so stupid that you just made a big, dumb, high-tech algorithm like I hear you all do to cut everybody? You know, like do 20% across the board algorithm.
Somebody can Elon Musk's computer and say, okay, just make 20% cuts. You know,
I mean, I disagree with your entire characterization. It was like the recitation of a narrative that, you know, everybody knows out there. And it's the Democratic Party narrative.
I'm just asking you a question.
It's just not true. We weren't cutting thousands of scientists.
Right,
we weren't cutting clinical trial. I mean, everything you said was essentially dishonest.
All right. That's okay. Well,
everything you said was essentially dishonest. That needs to be the title. That is the brand of the Democrat Party across the board. Everything they say is essentially, it's all spin, because this is going to be the discussion of the week. I did this on the last video on the Biden scandal. That is President Wheelchair Auto Pen, also known as Joe Biden. President Wheelchair Auto Pen is the great American scandal of the media lying to you. And this is just going to be endless week of Scott Jennings saying, I told you so. Here's Abby Phillips. She was in our last thumbnail. I'm just going to keep showing this stuff because the Democrats, they need their face put down in the doo-doo for years, because for 4 years, they called us liars, racist, homophobe, white nationalists, Christian nationals, scary evangelical, that we worship Trump, that Trump worshiped Hitler, and that Trump followed Putin. Their face goes in the poo-poo for 4 years. They have to be reminded of what they did, that they lied to the American people saying that Joe Biden was ready to be president.
And so far, we are still waiting for anyone to point out where Joe Biden had to make a professional decision or a presidential address where he was unable to do his job because of mental decline.
The Hur report, he had to testify. Robert Hur wrote in a report, I can't even charge this man because if I put him in front of a jury, they're going to say, oh, this is just a confused old man. We could never get a conviction. We had official government evidence that he was in cognitive decline. And what did the White House do? They smeared Robert Hur. They smeared him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with
do you not feel lied to? Do you guys, the Democrats who ran your party, who ran the White House, the people who lied to you as a journalist, Do you not feel any sense of outrage
Well,
about
I mean, well,
Karine or anybody else in the
we
line?
don't
They
know.
lied
I'll
to
say
you
that.
guys.
We don't
I'll
know
say
what's
this.
going to be in the book, by the way.
Yeah,
So
but
there's-
Why, Basil, is a comment about diminished faculties in here?
I have no idea why the need to put that in there.
This is from back in 2024, just to take you back to 1 year ago when the Democrats were still lying about Biden and saying, why would her put in that Joe Biden seemed like a confused old man that no jury would convict of of doing something illegal because he's in such decline, they would feel terrible for him. It would be like putting someone in a coma on trial.
Unless somebody's foot was on the gas or finger on the scale, whatever. I'm mixing metaphors, but you understand my point. That I have no idea why you would want to put that in the document. But at this point,
it's a warning.
It's not. Well, but
I mean,
why
I
put the
see
warning?
Republicans
But
are
why
gonna
put
seize on it,
why
but
put the warning
It
in
is.
there?
I mean, did it strike you as odd? I mean, it kind of seems
I
completely
mean,
beyond the scope of the
this-
conversation,
look,
which is whether he willfully
no,
puts in classified
I don't
documents.
know if it's odd because the White House pushback was, well, the day he did his interview, it was the day after the Israel-Hamas war started. So are you telling me that the president's mental faculties are mostly diminished when he's dealing with a crisis?
Right,
This
that's
is
not a good
vital.
response. I mean,
This
it's like
is
saying he hadn't
vital
slept. I
information.
understand, but they
This is
shouldn't have had to
vital
do it.
information.
Yeah, how could they even feel comfortable, any American, that Biden was involved in making decisions on the Israel-Hamas war, that crisis, our hostages that he could not get released. And Trump is working hard to get released, really at any cost. They were, again, I don't understand them. I think anytime you try to understand them, you look like a fool, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand a Democrat who simply wanted to win and lie. They lied and called you names like a bully to make you comply. That's a more rational explanation than trying to reason with them. Like, why would you think it was moral? Why would you believe Biden would be a good president in a wheelchair? Democrats go, oh, lots of people are in wheelchairs. Here's more from Fox on Biden, the jobs numbers. This is part of how the media covered for Biden. They gave outstanding job numbers to him. In hindsight, you look at the jobs numbers, they're not there. There were no jobs. Your entire government lied, including fiscal accountability, fiscal accounting. Certified public accountants looked at numbers and jobs, and statistician scientists looked at them, and they told you that this quarter, the financial Biden administration has overwhelming job numbers. They made them up. They lied. Because again, they just wanted to win. They could not give Trump another win. They had to try and drag Biden, a corpse, over the finish line.
Administration claims to have added almost 400,000 jobs. This is from Town Hall. From July through September of last year, but new data released this week suggests none of those jobs ever existed. In stark contrast to the monthly job reports showing an increase of 399,000 jobs during the third quarter, these numbers show a decline of 1,000 private sector jobs.
Oh, okay. We thought it was three, and all the media jobs, Biden's job numbers are better than usual. And all the pundits have to go, well, here's our explanation for why Biden's job numbers are so much better. It's we're coming out of COVID, and he came out of the Trump administration's terrible practices. And so, of course, the economy would turn around under Biden and give us 399,000 jobs. The problem is it was actually a decline of 1,000. Yes, they were off by 400,000 jobs is all. That is, every job they claimed under Biden was gone. Now, I just want you to know that this same lying media, this is why no one trusts anyone. I don't trust anyone. In the government, scientists, statisticians, health organizations, I don't trust you, because of these liars are the ones who removed our trust in the institutions. A scientist came and told you there were an estimated 400,000 jobs. The stock market blows up in response, by the way. So everyone who believed a lie were suckers. And now these same people come to you and say, Trump's tariffs are ruining the economy. Gas prices are soaring. Egg prices aren't going down. Your food is getting more expensive. Elon Musk is spying on people's social security numbers. They gave them to 18-year-olds. They broke into the IRS and gave them to 18-year-olds. Trump is trying to militarize the FBI. Trump's trying to abuse kids by separating families and putting them in cages. And we in the Democrat Party merely sold them to strangers to go into a certain market. No one. Democrats broke the trust of the American people over this one. Got to do this one with Joe Scarborough.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth.
Okay, tell
and
me the
F
truth.
you if you can't handle the truth.
Hey, what do you mean F me? You know, I know how you guys swing out in New York. We don't swing that way. Okay, Joe? What do you mean F you? How about bless those who curse you? So bless you, Joe Scarborough. You look like a shaved parakeet.
He's sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
I don't have any concerns, and that's from personal interactions.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Yeah, look at that face, you liar. You're a massive liar. Look at this beady-eyed weasel. You are a beady-eyed. If a beady-eyed weasel and a shaved parakeet had a baby, it would look like Morning Joe.
Not a close second.
Not even a close. Yeah, let's bring on Brennan. Look at all the awards. Ooh, look at all the medals. Oh, thank you for your service, you traitorous, duplicitous. You know what turns a hero who's been around the world with all this brass? Look at all these stars. Ooh, 4-star. Ooh, general. You're a traitor and a scumbag. You know, the biggest pot-smoking hippie that wears a communist flag and hates America's guts did less damage to it than you and your military service. You scum. Moving on to happier times. This is my favorite shot. Let's take a look at this is our House of Representatives.
Kustoff. Mr. Kustoff, no. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, no.
Yeah, not there.
Mr. Stubbe.
Not there.
Mr. Stubbe, no.
Not there.
Miss Tinney.
No.
Miss Tinney, no.
They vote no. Not
Mrs.
there.
Fishbach. Mrs. Fishbach, no.
Ms. Fishbach, no.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore. He's doing his imitation of Joe Biden. Working hard. She wakes up. Huh? What? Huh? I veto it. Huh? What? Veto. He says no.
Mr. Moore, no.
I love how he's cracking up. He got caught. This is so good. Thank you, everybody. They're all laughing at him. I love it.
Miss Van Dyne.
Miss Van Dyne, empty. Look, at least he showed up to fall asleep. These other people can't even show up. That's your government hard at work. We're in complete crisis. There's worlds blowing up around the world. They can't show up. I'm thanking God for the guy that showed up and merely fell asleep. Now, Jake Tapper, who is another one who lied about Joe Biden, wrote a book about how the media didn't catch his moral decline. And he's all, someone covered this thing up without realizing it is CNN and Jake Tapper who lied.
You bring up President Obama because there was a moment at that fundraiser, and that fundraiser really was a key moment for a lot of people in this history, which you so brilliantly document. But President Biden walked down to the end of the stage of this.
Hold on, brilliantly document. Dude, he works for your network. Easy on the sauce, brother. Jake Tapper, where you're so brilliantly documented. You know who was brilliantly documenting Joe Biden's decline before Tapper? A barely literate comic book artist. I'm like deformed with skin cancer surgery. I have no makeup artist. I bought a light for $9.99 as you have a multi-million-dollar studio with 30 staff members to write your material for you, Jake Tapper. I was at least 3 years ahead of you on the breaking story that you brilliantly documented. Excuse me. Everyone on the right side of YouTube was better at documenting the truth than CNN, Jake Tapper, and all of academia, all their money, and all of journalism.com, journalism.pulitzerprize.com, brilliantly documented.
Fundraiser for a moment. You can see it right there, and it seemed to stare a little blankly into the crowd, and then President Obama tugged on him. You saw that tug, and let him off the stage. So you just said you spoke to a lot of people
He's like doing a line from Of Mice
who were there for that. What else did they tell you about it?
Well, Obama's side of that story is he wasn't sure what was going on, but he just wanted to get out of there, and he wasn't going to get out of there without Biden. So
I like that story too. Obama just wanted to get out of there. He's like, I hate these people. How do I go back to my Hollywood people? I just want to get out of this room and get to Jennifer Aniston. What am I doing here? But I like how he's got his arm around Biden there. He's like, Lenny, do you see the rabbits? Remember from Vice and Men? He's all, yes, George Obama, George, yes, Obama, I see the rabbit. Yeah, Lenny, keep looking at the rabbits over there, George.
Grabbed him, and it was more just his impatience than anything else. But other people who were there, and we should note that the Biden White House falsely, when people showed that clip and asked what was going on, said it was a cheap fake. They did this all the time when there was video.
Karine Jean-Pierre, they called this a cheap fake. They said that we were deceptively editing it. That is, Biden and the White House said, don't look at it, and this is a cheap fake. And you know, they were about to start a government organization on misinformation. Remember the government misinformation where they were going to charge people like me, we'd end up in jail or get our YouTube channel removed for misinformation and disinformation of deceptive edits. That's all they ever did was deceptively edit. Like Trump with the both sides hoax.
Seemed to show Biden acting in an odd or unusual, seemingly out of it way. They would call it a cheap fake. It was not fake. It was actual video. And people in the arena who did not see the horrifying scene behind the stage, but in the arena, Congresswoman Annie Kuster, John Favreau, former Obama chief speechwriter, and others, just from that event and Biden walking towards the edge of the stage, thought, oh my God, something is wrong here. He's not going to make it.
Yeah, he's not going to make it. But Jake Tapper, you didn't report that until it was safe to report because you thought it, he's not going to make it. You thought was a better president than Trump. You guys were all telling the same story. You're not honest. You're not a good journalism. Your network stinks. It doesn't tell as much truth as mine, and it only tells more lies than mine. And you make about, 100 times my money, at least, maybe even 1,000 times my money. So, you know, Papa always told me life isn't fair. Here's more lying Democrats.
Mr. Abrego-Garcia, pursuant to this court order.
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents, to see you fight for a terrorist like this. And now,
yeah, Kristi Noem dressing Democrat down because he wants to bring a terrorist back to the United States and she just shreds him. All your constituents, you're fighting for this guy to come in and abuse their daughters.
not fight for them is extremely alarming to me.
I'm fighting for due process. And that's under the Constitution. Gentlemen.
Oh, wait, hold on. Look at him. Look at that finger coming out. This man, I was told, it's not hard to guess, is a feminist. And when you bark at a woman like this, you are the patriarchy mansplaining. As you know, as a more sensitive type than all Democrat feminists are, I actually care what women think. I actually care what women are. I actually believe a woman exists, and I don't need to consult with a biologist to know what they are, like your Supreme Court judge said. I also don't believe they should go in sports because I want to protect them from the brutality of men, and you would fight for them to stay in sports. And then you'd say, if you ever do this to a woman, you're mansplaining, pointing to them like a subordinate. Look how quickly he starts pointing at Kristi Noem. You know what? He almost does one of these. He almost starts to backhand her, and she's going to start to blink and duck. He almost went straight. He was like rearing back as women. That's every Democrat. They're like women. When they see a black person like holding up a whip, they're like going, and they got to calm down and go like, oh, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. These are mostly peaceful protests. Democrat Party. You look at this guy, feminist, pointing at Kristi Noem like a dog just because she shot a dog in the head. That does not give you an excuse to abuse such a fine specimen of the Republican administration. Here we go. More RFK Jr. destroying Democrats.
Yeah, there were analysis. The simplest analysis was at the outset, the analysis that we're spending $2 trillion a year that we don't have.
Mr. Musk
At
said he was
some
going to
point,
cut
when you're
$2 trillion.
spending $2 trillion more than you have to make cuts. The other analysis that was more detailed
You cut
is
the
that
children or the Indians that you're so concerned about?
we didn't cut the Indians. We didn't
No, I
cut the
understand
Indians.
that.
That's Steny Hoyer, Democrat, going, first of all, RFK Jr. goes, hey, we don't have $2 trillion to spend. Steny Hoyer goes, what about the children, the Indians and the children that you guys are cutting, that you guys cut so much? The Indians. Remember, it's another Democrat claiming to care about the Indians, the Native Americans. I can't believe he's so racist as to call them Indians. The Indians and the children. It's another Democrat saying they care about the children. You don't understand, you people. It's for the children. We're here to save the children and the Indians. Oh, two crows in running water, him go down the stream, and the mighty crow goes over the field, and that's why the corn crop is so robust. We dance and it rains. It's for the Indians and the children. Democrats. God is good, at least partially, because you guys lost.
Services.
I'm asking you, you said we have to cut.
I made sure that those services were not cut. I made sure that Head Start was not cut. But the cuts that were done were cuts that were to duplication, to redundancy, to streamlining. We increased our workforce 70% in 4 years, so we were going back to the 2019 levels.
Mr. Reagan,
And I would ask,
Mr. Reagan.
He just put him back. RFK Jr. just destroyed Steny Hoyer. Look, we're just cutting waste, fraud, duplication, and abuse. The money can be better spent elsewhere. This is too good. This is another Democrat caught in a huge lie. When did you know? This is going to be, guys, this is going to be the question through 2028. When did you know Biden was in decline, and why did you lie? That's the question every Democrat has to answer at some point, because that's going to be the number one question. Remember when they lied to you? We're going to say all the way to 2028. Remember last time when they ran against Trump and all the media lied to you? Well, now they're doing it to J.D. Vance, and they're here to support or whoever else is in the Republican Party. And now they're here trying to defend. It might be Stephen A. Smith. They're gonna go, when did we ever lie to you? Here's a Democrat liar.
Should he not have run because of mental decline or for some other reason?
I think he shouldn't have run because he was.
Yeah, he looked off. That's a lie. That's a tell. He can't look you in the eye. He looks straight off. Was it because of Joe's mental decline? He goes, oh no, it was, oh, you're going to come up with a good reason besides his mental decline is why he shouldn't have run. Okay.
I think that he had gotten to a point, I wouldn't say of mental decline, but
certainly not mental decline. It was spiritual decline. How about moral decline? Ethical decline of Biden. Is that it? Oh no, we got to find some safe kind of decline. It was his inability to do coloring books. That was the decline.
Of decline that put him in a position of not being able to wage a vigorous campaign against Donald Trump. And there's no way you can beat Donald Trump unless you can wage a vigorous campaign. And he couldn't do it.
But I thought you could beat Trump because he was so old, and you claimed he was insane, unfit for office. I thought he'd be easy. And remember, he's dumb. MAGA's dumb. He's dumb. Kofefe, he has a limited vocabulary. Why is suddenly he's like the genius, scary guy that no Democrat could win?
Why wouldn't you say mental decline? Did you not see that publicly?
Oh, that's because he's a Democrat, brother. That's Mark Halperin. Look at him trying to pretend like he's being honest and asking an honest question, going like, why wouldn't you say mental decline? Mark Halperin, you know why he won't say it, because he's lying. You can say it, Mark. That man is looking you straight in the face. He's lying.
I didn't see. Well, look, the first thing that I really saw, other than one visit to the White House on an immigration matter, there was about.
How can a guy who looks like a Mormon be so dishonest? You look like a.
I think 6 weeks before this was when I saw his debate with Donald Trump, and I think I was the first Democrat to publicly say on network television that we were going to lose in a landslide if he stayed at the top of the ticket.
Oh, wow. Well, he was the same guy that was running in 2020. Mark Halperin's going to call you out on that. You knew before that. And now you're slinging hash. You're slinging dirt, buddy. You got nowhere to go. Look at this poor guy. He's going to try and pull that one off. It wasn't until the debate. Guys, Biden was fine right up until.
But let me ask you about that, because that's a common answer. He
common lie.
Once addressed a dead congresswoman at an event meant to honor her, as if she were there.
Well, maybe he was talking to her ghost, Mark Halperin. Did you ever think of that? Maybe he saw her ghost. Maybe Biden sees dead people. That's going to be like, science is going to come up with a paper on this and go, Biden was only addressing a dead woman because he was probably so close to death that he was probably very close to being able to talk to her spirit. It was an apparition right in front of him. And because God ordained the Democrat movement so much that he gave Biden a vision to actually see her spirit. That's how close he was to the afterlife and to righteousness. Unlike Trump, the only thing he's close to is the Klan.
Was sequestered from the media, talked to the media far less often, even in 2020, including 2024. I don't think you needed to see anything secret or private for that debate to see mental decline. Do you not agree with that?
Well, I think that again, I have not made a personal assessment, but at that time, certainly
that's the same thing that the FBI director said. What a lie! They go to personal. Well, I didn't see anything personally. I'm not a very aware person. People say of me, I'm the last to get a joke. I'm the last person in the room to notice anything. It could be on fire, and I'd just be sitting there staring, going, what is that? I'm known for being slow. I'm not very aware. I'm not super quick. I'm not observant. I have 2 eyes, but I don't use them. Got a prefrontal cortex, but a dolphin would know Joe Biden was in decline before me.
Joe Biden's mental decline. I think he was not in a position to wage a vigorous campaign against Trump, whether it was mental or physical, and we paid a heavy price for his decision to run again.
You paid a heavy price because you lied, buddy. Joe Biden, he was not ready for a physical, it was just his lack of rigor. That's why we lost. Kamala Harris, she had lots of rigor, all kinds of it. It's funny watching people. I think it's funny to make fun of people lying. It is funny. And Democrat Party did some lying to us. Hope you guys like this material. Hope you'll subscribe. Hope you'll hang out for another video. I'm Doug in Exile.